So in meeting someone who is struggling with questions or is going into doubt and experiencing a lot of pain, how important is it in identifying the specific nature of doubt?
Yeah, James makes a comment in James chapter 3 that we all shouldn't strive to be teachers because teachers will be receiving greater condemnation. Because I think one of the problems is teaching can mislead. A scary part of being being a doubt counselor or a good friend who's asked to come in is because you want to be real clear when you're making dogmatic. I'd say round off your comments and leave room for sliding either way if you're not really sure, rather than being dogmatic and lead somebody down the wrong trail, because that's similar to teaching falsehood. I think you have to be really careful, you have to be really sensitive. Now, it's like anything else, when you've been doing it a lot, you can often see what kind it is in the first 3 sentences combined with a certain facial expression. But there's always the chance to lead somebody incorrectly. And of course, a really good example in our culture would be the doctor who gives the wrong medicine for the wrong problem, and problems ensue because of the doctor's wrong prescription. Not only was it not healed, this has some side effects. And so it's a serious thing not to have some, be able to give good advice. I think you have, but listen, we've said it's a tough thing to fall in the hands of an angry God. You don't want to not counsel somebody when you can help them. That could be even worse. So I think the best thing is listen, offer your best advice, but I tend to be like this emotionally. I tend to be a person who says, this is my thought, I'm not dogmatic, I'm not God. You're going to have to listen and evaluate and apply this because you know your personality, and you'll walk away and think of some things that you're never able to remember right now and tell me right now. So I think you need to evaluate this and apply it, but here's what I'm hearing, here's what I'm thinking, you make the application. But if the example is wrong medicine, an innocent case would be no side effects of the medicine, would just be, I gave you the wrong thing, and 3 days from now the toothache's still hurting, or the whatever earache is still hurting, and it's bad, so I changed medicine. Okay, we might have to change our advice too. That might be another, if the guy's still doing it. Or we might have to say, we're going to have some techniques we want to teach you in the future about thinking differently. You might have to think through it with them. In other words, not all is take 2 pills and go to bed. Sometimes doctor's advice is, let's think through this together. Well, I don't even know how to do that. All right, I'll do it with you for a few minutes. And you walk through it with them. But I think there's all kinds of things here. I just think you have to maybe avoid being dogmatic, avoid sounding like you always have the answer, give them the best shot and tell them they're going to have to evaluate. You know me, and you know yourself, and you know your situation better than I do. So apply this as you can. But it's like anything else. When you get to see the symptoms, it's not that hard to pick it out.
Okay, so you've been working with people for decades now.
Decades, literally.
Have there been times, maybe earlier, when you have been talking to people who are experiencing doubt, where you did misidentify?
Don't know if I misidentified per se, but I can think of times where I didn't know the whole story, and when I knew something else of the story, oh man, if you'd told me that, I would have taken in that direction. So. But if you know the whole story and you know the subject, know the whole issue the person is going through, and you know the subject well, I think and besides, we're not giving them physical drugs, it's not in our power. You're giving them advice. And a lot of times a person gets advice about somebody they're dating or somebody, a boss that mistreats them. And that advice can be applied to other areas if it doesn't apply best to this area, but you're less likely to really hurt somebody by, and I think you want to kind of round off the edges, like in other words, not dogmatic, leave it there, try to make it as applicable as possible for the person and let them make the ultimate thing. One other way to come back on this is ask them to check back with you in 2 weeks, just like medical doctors do. But I want to know if this is working. If what you're doing is really hitting a home run, what you're trying, that could be one reason I think let's do this some more. Let's pile some more helps on top of this. Oh, it's not working? Why not? Then you might adjust. So I think feedback is very, very important to picking this out.
And on the flip side, how powerful is it when you correctly identify what someone's going through?
It could be like saying, yeah, I called the next play. I called what the quarterback's going to say next. And everybody thinks you're really cool. But it's not going to help the person unless the person makes the application. We'll have a lot to say about application. Either factual application, we already talked about volitional, like you want to re-inspire them or shake them up or re-inspire them. With the factual person, you want to give them data. The emotional person, you got to teach them to think differently, and that's hard, very powerful, and it really works. But they've got to want to do it. They got to be motivated.
The old G.I. Joe show, it said, knowing is half the battle. So if they know, if they don't apply, then it's really not doing much at all.
That's true, and so many people, I can tell you from experience, so many people don't apply, don't even want to. They just rather, how about this? They'd rather cry than apply. I just thought of that amount. That sounds pretty cool.
Why do you think that is?
Everybody likes to be babied. We're lazy. I got something to do tonight. Might only be a TV program, but I don't feel like working on this thing. Nobody likes homework. There's a whole lot of reasons why we don't do what we should do. Maybe I don't believe what you're telling me. I do talk to people once in a while who don't believe the method is legit. And I'll go, the method I'm teaching you, they teach it in medical school. Yeah, whatever. And if you can't get them to buy into it, they're not going to apply it.
The people that do apply, you see great gains.
Yeah, on just about most of these subjects. But you know, by asking them back and letting them feed back into it. Give me feedback. Let me know how you're doing.